Fathers, stepfathers, brothers, uncles. They are the most common predators in incest cases.
I mean, I'm 8 years old and he laid me down and on me.
This type of danger isn't hiding in the shadows. It's serving you breakfast, tucking you in, telling you they love you. Nobody at 15 wants to have a child, let alone a child out of incest. My guest today is Aziza Kibibi. She was sexually abused by her father, forced to carry and raise his children. She became a mother.
I was carrying my own sister, you know, I was carrying my old sibling.
A survivor, and eventually a whistleblower, an author, and a fierce voice for the truth most people will do anything not to hear. Where the F was your mother?
He told her that he was molesting me as a treatment for my skin condition. Yes, he volunteered.
I'm sorry. This episode isn't just about incest. It's about the betrayal of safety, the silence that protects predators, and the courage it takes to break a system designed to break you first. Aziza, welcome to the Shadow Sessions.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Whew, where do we begin? Maybe at the very first time, the beginning?
Oh, so, and you know what? I would say that the very first time is not the beginning. I think the beginning was when I started seeing or witnessing and becoming aware of my father abusing my mom. And I think when it comes to a child that is being groomed, becoming used to seeing violence, can be part of that grooming. So there was a sense of fear. Even though I loved my dad, there was some fear. I was afraid of him. I had seen him be violent with my mom. He was very strict with his children. I mean, he homeschooled me. And part of his homeschooling process was with what we used to call the Kung Fu slipper.
The Kung Fu slipper.
The Kung Fu slipper. He was very much into martial arts. And the Chinese culture. He was African American, but he always taught us that Kung Fu means discipline. And he would wear Kung Fu slippers and Mandarin collared shirts. And he would use a Kung Fu slipper to beat us.
Wow.
So while he was teaching me algebra, 7 years old, he started teaching me very early. I started reading by the time I was 3.
Wow.
And if I got the answer wrong, then I got struck with the Kung Fu slipper. So, you know, just to give you an idea of how he looked at discipline and disciplining his children, there was already a fear of him.
Yeah.
However, the antithesis was he was very involved with his children and
like an active parent.
Yeah, a very active parent. He took us to the Statue of Liberty. We went blueberry picking on a regular basis. And I mean, he was delivering his children. So I was born in the hospital. My brother was also born in the hospital. But then my first sister, who was his third child, he delivered in my parents'
like
bed.
Actual labor. Like
my mom went through labor. And what was crazy is that his first time delivering a child happened to be breech. So when my mother went through most of the labor and it got time for him to push, he called me into the bedroom and I watched him, my sister's feet hanging from between my mom's legs, and my father explaining to my mother that she had to push. And I watched him pull my little sister out and she was not breathing. Well, it looks like she wasn't breathing. And he slapped her once, twice, and on the third time she screamed out crying.
And how old are you at this point?
I had to be about 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I had
that
to
is
be
a
about 3 or
traumatic experience
4.
for a 3-year-old. Is there a reason why he wanted your mom to give birth in the house?
I think it was just his philosophy and his understanding of how the medical system treated Black people.
Mhm.
He was very much aware of the role and how being Black in America affected us as people. So he was aware of the oppression. I mean, he taught me and my siblings about slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. So I was exposed to all of that information from a very young age.
Do you think any part of that was also to control your mother's health care and health?
Well, it probably was. It's interesting that you brought that up because looking back and in the work, in the work that I do, I'm realizing that there were so many things that he did that were tools of manipulation and control. For instance, I learned that people who are raised on a strict vegetarian diet are not as are more complacent or more compliant, right? And I believe I found some stories where with cult leaders they make their followers vegetarian. However, I don't know if that was intentional. I mean, he's a man in his 20s. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but looking back, I could see that many of the behaviors and many of the things that he practiced
like
and
a form of
believed in,
control.
were a form of control. So when he delivered my sister, my grandmother, who lived in the same house, but next door. We called it next door.
His mother or her?
My mom's mom.
Okay, your mom's mom.
Right. We lived in a house that my grandmother and my grandfather owned on my mother's side. And they did not like my father from the beginning. They were Jamaican by way of England. Well, my grandmother and my mother were from Jamaica, but my mom was born in England. And my grandmother believed in speaking the good Queen's English and, everything that comes along with what at the time that she migrated from Jamaica to England and all of her experience through Jim Crow in America, like all of that. So she was a very proper Jamaican woman. So here her daughter starts dating this young, vibrant, handsome. A lot of people thought that he was handsome, but kind of rebellious Black American, and she was not happy. She was not happy. And I just grew up hearing a lot of conflict and arguing, but my mom was in love. So they ended up, my mom and my dad met in high school. They got married in my grandmother's house. Connected to my grandmother's house was what they called a daughter apartment. So that's where we lived. Initially, we lived in the attic, but then we moved down there once the family started expanding. So what was next door was my grandmother's house, and we lived in a small apartment. And came from next door to my parents' bedroom, and that's where my father delivered my sister. So I think that he explained, like he definitely was as thorough as I think that he thought he should have been with where babies come from, how a child is born. And again,
So he's having these conversations with you at age 3, 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Is he having the sex talk at 3, 4 years old?
I don't remember a sex talk. I do remember him explaining, which he probably thought was age-appropriate language, that, a boy has a penis, a woman has a vagina, a boy, a man puts, and they make a baby. So I understood how my sister got in my mother's belly. There was no stork or anything like that. But at the same time, again, looking back, I could see how there was some conditioning through all of that. And yes, in my studies, in my research, he was controlling. He started isolating my mother from her family. Even though we would all lived under the same roof, he would fill her head with ideas that they were jealous of her and they didn't like her. So we started seeing less and less of my grandmother as I got older. And then one day, by this time, my father had delivered 2 more of my siblings, and I was in the living room helping my mom fold clothes, and she sent me into my parents' bedroom to speak to my father. Initially, I was afraid because you got sent to daddy when you was in trouble. You know, mommy handled all the teaching and the grading mostly, but when things had to get down to business is when you spoke to daddy. So I was scared because I thought I was in trouble.
Yeah.
When I went to my parents' bedroom, he did the complete opposite of what I expected, which was to praise me, to tell me that I had been doing a very good job helping with my siblings. My parents were leaving me home with my siblings. Yeah, by then, even though I couldn't use a stove, I had to prepare food for them, and even my newborn sister
you were like
was there.
parentified very early.
Yes, yes,
still exactly. We're talking under the age of 8.
Yes,
your primal years of learning and conditioning. You're already a mom.
I was getting my brother and sisters ready, up in the morning, getting them
you're
dressed,
already having adult
diapers.
Responsibilities.
Right, exactly. So here he was. I was not used to hearing this.
Yeah,
him commending me and complimenting me on that. And then he told me he had to show me how to be a woman. So he took me into the space that separated. It was actually a closet area between my parents' bedroom and my grandmother's kitchen, laid me down and performed oral sex on me. I dare not question or fight back. He did ask me if I liked the way it felt.
Wow.
And I told him that no, I did not like the way it felt. And I mean, I was very cautious in telling him that. And then he continued to do what he was doing until he then stopped and pulled my dress down. And then after that, he would come into my room at night on a regular basis. It used to be maybe every now and then. Then it got to the point where it was every night.
Okay, let's hold. Let's go back to that first incident. You're 8 years old. It's happening. Are you thinking, I need to go tell mom? Are you thinking, this shouldn't be happening? Like, what is the child you thinking in that moment?
I completely separated myself from the feeling.
Dissociation. Easy.
Yeah,
that's how we protect ourselves. I completely separated
myself from the feeling. And I did ask him. He told me that I couldn't tell my mom. And I asked him why not, if this is what you're supposed to do. Because he also told me that all fathers did this with their daughters. So this was part of his explanation before he actually started the action. And I asked him, well, Daddy, if this is what everybody is doing, why do I need to keep it a secret? He said, because people wouldn't understand. So in my mind, I was confused.
Yeah.
You know, this was conflicting information. At the same time, this is my father, who I loved, who I was also afraid of.
Who you're also, a part of you is seeking his love.
Right.
And
his admiration.
Exactly.
And also, he was my only source of education. So our television watching was limited. He would only allow us to watch educational television, PBS. And we was not allowed to watch regular TV, it was called. So who and what I had access to was limited, and a lot of my information about the world was coming directly from him. So no, I dare not question him. I just accept it for what it was.
And
if I had questions, right.
You know?
Right. And I knew what it meant when you question mommy and daddy, you know, in the past. So that was just something that I didn't do.
The first incident, was it full-on contact or was it just the oral?
It was just the oral.
Okay.
It was just the oral.
And then did it gradually start to increase?
Yes, it did. It started to increase to, I mean, I'm 8 years old and this is a grown man. It did start where he tried to insert himself into me and he wouldn't fit, of course. So then he started using his fingers. Then he graduated to a banana with the peel off. and then the peel on. Until then, my body would accept him. So it's something, even that word feels strange, you know, because I wasn't willing acceptance, but my body physically could okay, let me.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Before, because my body did not accept him.
Yeah.
I had untreated asthma. As you can imagine, because my father did not
believe in the healthcare system.
Right.
Like,
he didn't believe in right. So then he did not take us to the hospital. My mom, when I was really young, had taken me to get vaccinations, which he did not believe in and was completely against. So she did it be outside of his wishes. And he had a fit. The story I was told was that he had a fit.
Yeah.
And from there, apparently I developed eczema, but it didn't matter. He did not take me to the doctor after that. So every summer I would be bedridden a lot of the time because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And it turned out I had untreated asthma. So his abuse exasperated it. So no, my body was not accepting
100%.
of what he was doing. But for him to fit inside me, it did take some time. He had to train my body. And then he was almost every night. And then through the process, he also tried to condition me using porn.
Wow.
Getting me used to.
And we're still talking 8 years old now.
Yes, we're still talking 8 years old. Well, the porn conditioning happened between 8 and 9.
Okay.
When he finally was able to penetrate me with his penis, I was 10 years old.
Okay.
At that time, my father was polygamous.
Yeah.
He had multiple girlfriends. It initially started as him cheating on my mom.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of the violence became more. And then when he told her that he was going to be a polygamist and start leading this African cultured lifestyle, I guess she accepted it. And I mean, this is the thing. My mom was in love with my father.
Yeah.
They were high school sweethearts. She was only 17 when she got pregnant with me. He was 18. So she wanted to maintain the marriage.
And she's groomed at this point and conditioned. So there's
and
she's going through her own trauma as well.
Right.
So
there's that, but then there's also the culture she was coming from.
Of course.
You know, that especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
Now we live in a different time where women are more self-sufficient, but back then it was like, no, the woman has to maintain the marriage and look the other way if her husband is doing something. And then her mother believed in a lot of that, even though she didn't like my father and she wished that wasn't who she chose.
Once you get married, it's like you chose that man, so you have to ride and die for him.
Work it out. Yeah, try to work it out. And I believe my grandmother, and this is all coming from the perspective of a child, I believe my grandmother was back and forth. My father was a cabinet maker, and she allowed my father to do a lot of things. He built furniture for her. She gave him access to the basement, which he completely renovated and made it a finished basement. So in my mind, there was a lot of conflict. I'm like, well, Grandma.
It's very conflicting as well, because you're like, I hear he's bad, but he's also like doing all these acts of service and we accept him in some point. So as a child, that's super confusing for you.
Right.
And you can't have one certain perception about the person because around you, there's multiple perceptions about him, both good and bad. Yeah.
And that was the other thing. A lot of my mom's family, her cousins, my dad was in a band with some of her cousins. They would perform, they'd have jam sessions at the house. So there was a lot of family members that I would say enabled him in many ways because they knew.
Yeah, that exactly. I'm like, my first question that's like burning in my head is like, if he was doing this for this long period of time, how did no one see it? Where the F was your mother? Like, where is she when I'm sure sounds were there or a pattern is observed, right? Like, a part of me is like, where's the mom? Because for me, moms are protectors, right? So I'm like, where was your mom during this period? What part of this was she involved? Did she know? I'd love to go there.
So she learned that what my father was doing to me when I was 10.
Okay.
She learned, and he told her. Yes, he volunteered.
I'm sorry.
He told her. He told her that he was molesting me. He was already raping me by then, but he told her that he was molesting me as a treatment for my health, for my skin condition. And she accepted that. She accepted that. When she questioned him was when she found out that one of his girlfriends was also molesting me with him.
Wait, this just got worse.
Yeah, one of his girlfriends. He introduced one of his girlfriends into abusing me. And I mean, I have memories swirling in my head of being in our living room while some porn movie was playing, having a threesome, for lack of a better
being molested and raped.
Being molested and raped.
Yes,
by two adults.
By two adults, yeah.
At 10 years old. So it was at that time that my father told my mom what he was doing. And she questioned him because, not at the time that he told her, but at one point she came to me and asked me about what he was doing. And my response to her was, "Who told you, Akua?" And that's when she found out that his girlfriend was also, and she lost it. She confronted him, excuse me, and he beat her with a belt. And after that,
I'm sorry, at that point, I'm committing a felony. You know, if somebody comes and tells me, like, I molested your daughter, I'm committing a felony at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of mothers listening to this will be like, I would have stabbed him in that moment, and c'est la vie, you know? But I want to talk about you. We understand these are terrible adults. You as a child, what are you feeling? Like, how's your self-worth feeling at that moment? Like, you're 10 years old, you're constantly being abused by your dad. Now he's adding other people to abuse you. Are you thinking this is normal life? This happens to every child out there? Like, this is the norm? Or are you thinking this is what I have to do to survive? Or are you, what were you feeling?
Well, it was a combination of things. Initially, I believed what my father said as far as it being normal, even though I had questions. But I categorized my questions as the same inquiries about things that I just didn't want to do. Yeah. Every kid, they don't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, or, you know, or they don't know why their bed has to be perfectly tucked and made. So in my mind, I filed it with those things. There were a lot of things I questioned about my mom and dad. Yeah. So that kind of went into that file as well. Then when more violence started surrounding it, definitely after my mom found out, I was getting sicker. My father would molest me and I'd have an asthma attack.
That's your body fighting back. Right. That's your body going in flight mode.
I was not allowed to sleep, because he was only abusing me at night. So I had to do all of my chores, all of my schoolwork, help with my siblings during the day. And then after everybody went to sleep, he'd come and get me up at 12 a.m. and keep me up until 4 or 5 a.m.
Is this only happening to you? Or
yes, at this time.
Just you?
Just me.
Do you know why he picked you? Because you have elder siblings?
And no, I'm the oldest.
You're the eldest.
Yes.
That's why he picked you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, go into the psychology of a predator.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't talk about with pedophiles. They actually have preferences. They have preferences to children, meaning just like a man would have, or a woman would have a preference to their type of male or female, who they like, short hair, long hair, blonde. Pedophiles have the same thing. Yeah. So my father did not abuse every child because he didn't necessarily think that girl was cute, or you see what I'm saying? So the same preferences. So even out of my sisters and I, Yes, I was the first one he abused. And then...
Now you were the first one.
Yeah, I was the first
so
one.
So that means there were others.
Yes. As I developed, I started questioning what he was doing. I started to fight back physically. He became more violent, so he would beat me and rape me. I tried to run away. The time that I did, I think I got the closest to actually running away. My brother caught me trying to leave. And of course, by then, you know, my father our disciplining is very strict, and he's beating us and taking turns with belts and punching and kicking. So my brother said to me, well, Aziza, if you leave, what's going to happen to us? And I realized I could not leave my siblings.
How old were you at that point?
I think I was 12.
Wow.
I was 12. And the reason why I got to that point where I was like, I just have to go. My father had sodomized me as punishment for taking a taste of his junior's cheesecake. So there then became this blurred line of me as what he called a sex slave and being his daughter. And he started using sex as a punishment. So I decided that I couldn't take it anymore. But in my mind, I wasn't telling anybody, because by then now he had stopped us from talking to my grandmother. We was not allowed to go next door. And then
you were in prison.
Yes. And then at the same time, he trained all of my siblings. Like, we were trained to watch each other. Make sure Aziza doesn't say hi to grandma. Make sure, you know, my brother did not speak to. And everybody took their roles very seriously. Well, actually, except me. But especially my younger siblings, my sister, she was Miss Tattletale about everything. And, you know, as the oldest, the sibling rivalry is there. There's some jealousies. And the thing is, even though they did not know what my father was doing to me at this time, what my sisters saw it as preferential treatment. So that just fuels her jealousy. Well, why does Aziza get to stay up? And why does Aziza get to go with daddy? So that was, and then she would find ways to get me in trouble. However, I knew she just didn't understand.
Yeah, she's a child as well. Like, that's your norm.
Right.
You're conditioned by a pedophile and a little bit of a sociopath to do certain things. So you guys don't know any better. But talk to me about that moment, because I saw you get really emotional when you stayed for your brother. Because that means there was a lot of emotions at 12 years old. You're making life decisions at this point, where a normal 12-year-old is thinking about, like, am I going to have McDonald's today? You're thinking about, do I save myself or do I sacrifice myself for my family, for my brother?
Yeah.
And you chose sacrifice. Tell me about that.
I think as the oldest, and I mean, by that time, wow, how many siblings were there? I think it was 5 of us by then. And because I was their primary caretaker, my mom was chasing my dad around. And then by this, he started exploring a music video production. Well, not music video. He was trying to break into the music industry as an artist. So long meetings, and then even their dynamic with his dating life, he would have my mom drive him to a potential woman's house that he was trying to sleep with and make her sit out in the car while he did his thing on the inside. Wow. So I was left home a lot with my siblings. And that just deepened my, I think it triggered my natural maternal instinct. And of course, I loved my siblings. I taught them how to read and write and tried to entertain them as much as I could. And this is from babies. I mean, it got to a point where my mom, she did breastfeed, but she would leave without pumping milk. And I had to be there with my sister crying nonstop, trying to figure out ways. So of course, I became bonded from a motherly perspective. So then
when he said, please stay, you were automatically like, okay, I have to do this.
I have to.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at myself for not considering,
You're
like
12.
not being able to think past
You're 12.
that moment. I know.
like you keep saying you were 12.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not thinking about those things at the time.
Yeah, but right now you're like, oh, I shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
But you were 12. Like you were 12 experiencing severe trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you're sitting here today because it just got worse.
Yes, it did. It got a lot
a lot worse after that.
Got a lot worse.
So when was your first pregnancy with his children?
I was 15. By this time, my father had completely separated us from our family and his family. The only communication that he really had with his family was his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he bought a house in East Orange. We lived in Paterson, New Jersey. And he decided that he needed to move us away from my mom's family. So he bought a house in East Orange. It was a funeral home, dilapidated funeral home.
Yeah.
He decided he was going to renovate it. His construction crew was his wife and his children. And his girlfriend. Yeah. And his girlfriend at the time and one of his close friends. And we went to the house every day to tear it down and gut it and then completely build it back up. Sheetrock, electric, plumbing, everything. So then, even though he wanted to wait till it was finished before we moved, thinking back, I realized that his abuse of me, if it could get any worse, it was getting worse.
Yeah.
And also my mom's other male family members started trying to intervene more. I don't know if it's because they suspected something, but they was coming at the approach of my mom should not allow him to be bringing other women to the house.
Yeah.
And they forcefully intervened. At one point, one of my uncles pulled a gun on my father. So at this time, my dad was like, we're moving.
Yeah.
Now.
I need full isolation. Yes. I need to keep these people captive within my control.
Right.
Yeah.
So we moved into the construction site. I mean, there were places that did not have a roof. There was holes in the floor. The walls wasn't sheetrock. We moved into the basement and slept on mattresses on the ground. And it was there that I got pregnant. And even during the renovation, before we actually moved, my brother and my father and myself would go to the house on certain days and we'd do the work. And then my father would take me up to the attic to rape me. So now here we are living in the house. He was finding different places in the house. Yes, by this time, not just my mother knew, his girlfriend and all of my siblings knew.
It's like a system of corrupt people sitting together and enabling abuse to happen. Like a system. It's systematic at this point because everyone's part of it.
And if you look at predators and abusers and pedophiles, the ones that commit the most severe crimes usually have some form of support system, even if they're unwilling.
Yeah.
That is enabling them and empowering them. So, you take like an R. Kelly, yes, people knew. People knew and they turned the other.
They say nothing, they don't speak up.
Right.
Or did you go, it's culture, or, I don't want shame to be brought upon our family. I think this one's big. Like, no, we got to keep it hush hush, keep it a secret, because we don't want to ruin the family name or the family image or
and that was big for my mom.
Yeah, I figured.
That was big for my mom. She already felt like she was humiliated when it came out that he was sleeping with other women, some of them being her cousins. And then once she accepted this lifestyle, and that could have played a role in her accepting this polygamous lifestyle.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where when he was beating her, no, she couldn't say anything because of shame. Yeah. And she had to keep up appearances. So then when it got to the sexual abuse of her children, that played a role.
How did you know you got pregnant? How did you know you got pregnant?
I missed my period. And I
Did
missed
you
my
know what
period
that
about
meant?
2 months. Yes. By
Okay.
then, I mean, I had assisted in delivering multiple
Children, yes.
multiple children.
You're a midwife by the age of
Right.
15
And a
at this point.
doula. So
Yeah.
I knew everything. I knew about breastfeeding and colostrum and like I knew everything. And my father delivered one of my siblings who were stillborn and my mom had miscarriages. So yes, I was very knowledgeable in the whole reproductive experience of a woman. So by the time I got pregnant, missed 2 periods, morning sickness hit like a mofo. It hit by like, and I told my mom, and it took a minute for my father to accept it for some reason. This was the weirdest thing because also when I got my period, my parents did not accept it at all. I walked around, I went through at least 2 period cycles with no sanitary napkins.
Wow.
Because my parents just refused to believe that I had my period for whatever reason.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole other
damn
layer. Yeah. So here I am pregnant, and you want to talk about feeling trapped? If I did not feel trapped before, in the back of my mind, I knew one of 2 things would happen. Actually, probably more than that. I thought my father would one day decide to stop abusing me, stop doing what he was doing. I had hope. Let's say I had hope for that. He would drop dead somewhere. There was actually one time he got very ill while we still lived in Patterson, and I considered smothering him with a pillow. So he would drop dead, or I would die. There was like, well, those were the options. Those were the options. So, but it in some way gave me hope. Even the most devastating choice, it was still like, well, I believed that this would eventually come to an end. But then I got pregnant. And it was like, okay, well, now I have a life that I have to protect and take care of. At the same time, because I didn't feel loved by my parents.
Tell me how you reconcile that. Like, you're pregnant, you're 15, you know this is your abuser's child. Nobody at 15 wants to have a child, let alone a child out of incest.
I didn't see it as that. I saw it as my child.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw her as my child. So I didn't even consider the fact that I was carrying my own sister. You know, I was carrying my old sibling. So I just saw her as my child.
Wow.
And I also saw it as a challenge that I was going to do better than my mom did. Combined with the fact that someone was going to be born that loved me. There was, dare I say, an underlying excitement for becoming a mother. However, I was terrified. Yeah, I was terrified that I was bringing her into the world that I was living in. So the nightmares, oh my gosh, I used to have nightmares of like end of the world and running with my siblings and now my baby and all of this stuff. And that was just from the stress of knowing that I was having a child and who her father was.
Yeah.
So.
And what happened to your daughter?
She was, well, first I didn't have any labor pains. The feeling that I witnessed my mom go through excruciating labor.
Yeah.
But then I had like mild menstrual cramps. So even though my due date, we knew that it was around my due date, my father did not see it as me being in labor.
Yes, of course.
Then the cramps would come and got to 5-minute intervals. Well, not consistently 5 minutes, but they became more regular. And that's when he was like, oh, you're in labor. However, the fact that I was not in painful labor contributed to his belief that what he did was ordained by God.
Whew.
Yes, because my labor was being
like,
easy.
Look, a sign from God.
Right. It was a sign from God that what he was doing was right. And yes, he should have impregnated me. And this was meant to be because, look, you are here. You represent, a woman that is bringing a child into the world but not feeling pain. And long story short,
just fed into his ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, the narcissist, I think he is like textbook narcissistic disorder.
Yeah, I would go more sociopath as well.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Like narcissism might be here. He's filled that whole cup of narcissism and now is on the next stage of sociopath.
I mean, his whole existence really should be studied because my father was a character, to say the least.
So yeah, back to your birth. So you were delivering.
Yes, but we had no plumbing in the house. We had no plumbing, no running. Well, we had running water, but it was through a hose outside. Yeah. We would literally only take baths in the summer, standing under the hose. My father had decided that we was not going to eat processed food, so all of our food was grown on the land that the house was on. And I was sitting. Our form of bathroom was a toilet seat placed on a Home Depot bucket. One was for bowel movements and one was for urine. And we would dump those in the garden and the compost for the food on the land. So I get up one night and I decide, well, I need to use the bathroom. Well, use the bathroom. Yeah. It was actually in the library of the house. Use the bucket. Yes. Yeah. Use a bucket. And I'm there and I'm like trying to go, and water just splashed out in front of me. And I reached down and my baby's head was right there. And I screamed for my mom. She came out. The only thing that divided the room, this was the only furnished room in the house. And it was my father's music studio. So what divided it was a curtain, a plastic curtain. My mom comes rushing out, screams for him. They come. I couldn't walk. I was paralyzed because of where the baby was. They had to carry me back into the room onto the mattresses, the foam mattresses on the bed. And I had an expulsion birth. My father was like, don't push. When your body just pushes the baby out against your will. He's like, you have to hold on, because I was tearing. And she just came flying out. She just came flying out all at once. And when he handed her to me, I mean, my father was very into the whole natural childbirth experience. So he believed that the placenta should stay connected for a certain amount of time. And even once you birth the placenta, it should be kept near the baby and the mom. Very holistic. And he gave her to me. And I looked in her eyes and I fell in love. My baby was so beautiful. She still is. She still is. And I spent the rest of the night just staring at her. And she was such a good baby. So before I actually gave birth, my dad's girlfriend brought up the fact that she might be born with birth defects. My father was not happy about that. He was very angry with her about that. But he did not have that conversation. That was not brought up. It was new information to me, but he didn't even explore it. However, when she was born, he checked. He checked her hands. He checked her feet. And this was another sign that it was ordained by God.
By God, yeah. Yeah.
This is another sign it was ordained by God. And he decided then that I was meant to have his blue blood children. And even though by then he started molesting my sister.
Okay, I'm going to just throw something out there.
Okay.
At no point did you want to kill him? Because I want to kill him right now. So it's like, were you at no point like, I want to stab him in his sleep?
Yeah. I mean, there was the time that I got as far as picking up the pill because he was very sick. I don't know what he had, but he was sick enough that he called his entire family into the bedroom and started apologizing for all of the abuse and everything that he was doing. So he was very ill. And I got up during the time that he was sick and I took my pillow that I slept on and went into my parents' bedroom and almost put it over his head.
What stopped you?
Logic.
Okay.
It was logic.
Like, I would go to jail for this.
So not even that. It was, what if he wakes up? what if he wakes up? And I knew how strong he was. You know,
Mhm.
what if he wakes up? And what's mommy going to say? There was a time my brother and I plotted to kill him as well.
Okay.
And it was before we made it to East Orange. But by then, my father had told my siblings that he was, quote unquote, keeping me.
Mm.
So my brother was feeling the blunt of my father's jealousy. My brother was like a splitting image of my dad, and he was brilliant. My brother was so brilliant. And my father, in many ways, demonstrated that he was jealous of him.
Yeah.
He would physically abuse my brother a lot. So now here we are, me and my brother used to pace in circles and talk about a life outside of our life and talking to our family again. And we came up with the idea that we were so miserable, we was going to kill daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And we plotted that one day that they would come home, I would grab a hammer, hit him over the head, somehow, make mommy, knock mommy out. But daddy was dead, and we was going to grab everything and run out the door. But my sister foiled our plans. But in all of that planning, we did not consider blood. We didn't consider police.
Your kids.
We were
children.
Kids.
Yeah.
We were kids. This was for us a way out.
Yeah.
But yes, our sister foiled our plans. So yeah, there were definitely times that I considered murder, because that was one of the ways that the abuse would stop. I felt one of the ways. But now here I have a daughter.
Yeah.
I have a daughter.
And that changes everything now.
Right. And then the thing is, my father was still a provider.
Yeah.
I say he was a provider. He worked. He was building his company. And if he could not himself provide, he had people to provide for him. So meaning that he had girlfriends that he would take their salaries, and business partners that would contribute financially. Yeah. So he always made sure that there was food on the table.
How do you mother your child while you're still being abused? Because the abuse doesn't stop there. It continues, it escalates. So how do you be a mother at the same time you are a victim of this radical abuse?
Very cautiously and strategically.
Okay.
I would say one thing that contributed to my experience was because my father decided that my daughter was this royal blue blood gift sent from God.
Yes.
He held her up on a super high pedestal. So though I was afraid that he would eventually molest her as well, I felt, and maybe I was naive, but I felt it was unlikely. And it was because of the association that he would make with sexual abuse and rape as punishment.
Yeah. And
even though he used corporal punishment with his children by my mom and his children by other women, not with my kids. Okay. No one was allowed to lay a finger on them. No one was allowed to to raise their voices at them. So they were little prince and princesses. So that kind of helped in a way as far as my experience, because I knew even though I was being abused, she wasn't going to get abused. Yeah. Even though my sisters were being abused, she wasn't going to get.
How many children did you bear from him?
4. I was pregnant 5 times.
Wow.
I miscarried 1 child after he beat and sodomized me while I was pregnant. And I had 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy.
And are they all here today?
No, 3 are here. 1 passed away in 2010 because she did have genetic disorders. She had spinal muscular atrophy, 2 genetic disorders, spinal muscular atrophy and phenylketonuria. While phenylketonuria is not fatal, it can be managed. The special diet did have add more weight to her spinal muscular atrophy, and that is because her muscles were extremely weak. So she was in a wheelchair. She needed respiratory support at night. And the low protein diet for the phenylketonuria was a strain on her, digestive system. So we went through a lot with her with that, aspirating the formula. How
did he react to children being born with defects?
It was my fault.
Oh,
it was my fault. And because I did not find out that either of my daughters, so I have two daughters with genetic disorders. Two have PKU, one had PKU and spinal muscular atrophy. And my second daughter, who was the first daughter who was born with a genetic disorder, she broke out in eczema all over her body. And that is a sign of untreated phenylketonuria, which can lead to retardation.
Yeah.
However, she was discovered at 2 years old, and this was during the time that I started the process of getting away from him. So, but yeah, he blamed me. Her rash broke. He actually took her away from me and gave her to my mom to breastfeed. I was not allowed to care for her. I was not allowed to have contact with her because it was my negative energy and my tainted breast milk that was causing the rash on her body. And then when my second daughter with disorders was born, it was the same thing. My negative energy and my poisonous milk. And so, yeah, those were the reasons why she was having any type of issues.
So the abuse continued for years.
Yes.
When was the moment you were like, F this, enough is enough? Like, it's do or die at this moment.
How do I explain this?
Because every one of us has a moment where you're like, I'm done. Like, this is it. Did you have one of those moments? I think.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. I would say it wasn't a moment. It wasn't a moment.
Okay.
It was something that crept in gradually over time. As I started having children, and then my sisters started having children, I knew that I had to figure out something.
Yeah.
And it stayed in the back of my mind for a course of years, trying to strategize how best to escape the situation with doing the least damage to myself, my children, my siblings. By that time, I didn't care about mommy. I didn't care what happened to mommy. But how to do the less damage and how to get out of the situation and land on our feet.
Yeah.
So it was just a constant testing every person my father introduced us to, trying to fill them out, who I could be around. And the thing is, I believe that he recognized that. I mean, I don't know if these kind of oppressors automatically start looking for things, but I could not speak with anyone without being monitored, even as he started his music video directing career. I was part of the production company, but he always had someone watching. He always had someone listening. But it was just a constant trying to figure out until the moment presented itself when my son, by my father, woke up one day with seizures. I didn't know that they were seizures, but my father was out of town. My brother was visiting at the time. By then, my brother was out in the music industry, editing videos, but all of his money went back to my dad. But he was visiting one time and he convinced my mom to allow him to take me and my son to the hospital. When we went to the hospital, I was given paperwork to fill out, and there was insurance, registration, whatever. And I decided to put my father's name in both for my father and my child's father. And it raised the red flag. So it was really about identifying the opportunity. And I saw that as an opportunity.
How old are you at this point?
21, I think.
Still a kid.
Yeah, 21. So it didn't stop there. That was just when authorities intervened. The fact of the matter is, a lot of what my father raised me to believe about the world, about white people, about medical system, about legal system, all unfortunately proved true through my experience. We were in Monmouth County, New Jersey, and I experienced a lot of racism through this process in the hospital. Long story short, a caseworker was contacted by DIFIS, that is now known as DCPNP in New Jersey. And she came in and she told me that I looked and smelled disgusting and she was taking my kids. She didn't ask any other questions. Because my son was in the hospital with seizures. She also spoke to my dad. I still to this day don't know what the outcome of that conversation or what was had in that conversation. But he allowed her to go to the house and take my other children out of custody. She left my siblings there. And I had a lot of siblings that were the same age as my children. She only took my children, brought them to the hospital. And from there, they got custody. They took custody from me and my dad. My father was still threatening me. He was threatening the lives of my siblings. He was there in the hospital with me. So there was still a lot of mental oppression that I had. I was not confident in my experience with the caseworker to say anything. So I adhered. I made a decision. My sisters are at home. My dad is going to kill them if I did not comply. And I maintained the secret at that time. So now at least my children were in a place where they can start getting medical care. That's where we learned that my second daughter had PKU. And yes, it was heartbreaking. I was devastated. I was traumatized. They were traumatized. Nothing was done the right way, but they were away from my father. And I had to take some form of comfort in that. And then from there, it was back to strategizing. Through the process, my father tried to kidnap my kids out of the hospital. He also was very tenacious. But he had a lot of contacts. And he learned where their foster moms and parents lived. He identified where they lived so he could strategize to try to kidnap them again. A warrant was put out for his arrest after his first attempted kidnapping of them. So there was a lot of times where it seemed like he was going to get caught, but then evaded authorities.
Cat with 9 lives.
Yeah. And then, of course, from my perspective, even growing up with him, those weren't the first times. He evaded authorities when he used to beat my mom. So, yes, there was this kind of omnipotent, godly perspective of him. He put himself up on a pedestal, and it seemed like things in his life always worked out for him. He was winning awards for being a music video director. So I think that contributed in kind of the insecurities that we had, that I had. I know it did, that I had to even try to go up against him.
It seemed like he got more successful with time. And the more successful he got, did the abuse increase or decrease?
It increased. Because with his success came stress. So, for instance, so he directed Killing Me Softly by the Fugees. And he was hired, then fired, and then rehired. So, there was a lot of stress that came with those things. And it was during Killing Me Softly, the video was a huge success. It was everywhere. He was flying high, you know, he was in rival with Hype Williams, who was a popular director at the time. And he was getting all of these jobs. But then at the same time, his ego was flying high as well. He was saying the wrong things to the wrong people. He started becoming blackballed. He was not invited to the MTV Music Awards.
Do you feel like they knew about him? Why was he being blackballed? Like, did they just not like his personality? Or do you feel like people...
My father was arrogant. And what I heard, what he said was that there were definitely some things he was getting involved in, dealing with like sex and wild parties, and he would talk about and spill people's secrets in the industry. And apparently he said something.
I'd also think that's the perfect industry to be in.
Right. And I mean, we've seen it come out recently, right? We see more and more of these things come out, and he was involved in a lot of those things. And however, at the time, it was like, well, there are just certain things you don't talk about.
Yeah.
he was talking about it. He was bragging to people about his access. And he said something to the wrong person. It got back to the Fugees, and they went on a tirade. Before he knew it, he wasn't being invited to parties anymore. People weren't answering his calls.
Yeah.
He was not invited to the MTV Music Awards.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like the first sign of it. He wasn't given credit. Well, he was given credit for the work, but Wyclef did not acknowledge him on stage. He took all of that out on me. Yeah. That's when I had the second miscarriage. That's when I had the miscarriage of the second child I was impregnated with.
Do you think society blames the victims more than it makes the predator accountable or the abuser accountable?
I do. Gosh, it's so complicated, and I do have a theory behind it. Because even when you say society, when you think about our societal systems, I don't think it was intentionally developed that way, but I think in the process of not wanting those who are accountable to be held accountable, then the blame shifted on the victims. In more of a personal, from like person to person, interpersonal interaction, I feel like, and as someone who has been on the receiving end of the blame, I feel like take my family, for instance. They have access to me. Like, my sisters blame me for what happened to them. They told me that if I would have fought harder, then my father would not have abused them. But they have access to me. Yeah. They could blame me because I'm immediate. I don't know why they chose me over my mom, but you know, they have access to me more. My father is too big. Yeah. So I think the mind of a predator is a little too complicated and scary, that it's easier for people to say, well, why didn't you do something to prevent them from doing what they did? Yeah. Rather than why did they do what they did? I think it's too sensitive for most of society.
I feel our initial program is to say, hey, you know, why didn't she stop it? Even if it's a child sometimes, right? And we forget that this is systematic, this is grooming, this is years and years of conditioning. And also around you, unfortunately, was a system protecting him and allowing this abuse to continue over and over and to multiple people in your family. And it was like, even when he got famous and popular, people knew, but stayed silent. And this is a cultural issue because we stay quiet when we see wrong things. And it's like everyone's afraid. And then naturally your sisters are like, well, Aziza could have done more versus this man shouldn't have done this or been around children from the get-go. Right? Yeah. Which takes me back to like a few stats that I've been looking into. And one of the main things was that about 70% of sexual abuse is done by somebody the child knows. And about only 10% of incest is ever reported. But then I saw a bigger stat is that in the state that you live in, New Jersey, incest is not criminalized. So there's no punishment for this crime. It infuriated me. You as somebody who's gone through this, like, doesn't this blow your mind?
It does. And so the thing is, I do want to clarify, as far as incest being legal, right? In New Jersey, it was until 1978. It was illegal until 1978. Then something happened and there was an oversight in the law.
And they changed it back.
And that automatically changed it back to be legal. But then they decided, when someone saw it, the powers that be, whatever, legislators realized, like, oh, wait a minute. What they decided to do was then just make it illegal for children under 18, for children. Why that has changed, that's what I'm working on now. But on changing, I have been kind of lobbying and educating legislators for at least 6-7 years now on why it should be be criminalized because the law as it's written does not take into account that a person can be groomed into adulthood. So where they're saying that, well, once you turn 18, you're compliant, you're compliant, you're making a choice. They don't take into the account that, well, you may think you're making a choice, or you may be being coerced or just afraid. And I only learned about it because my father used that in his defense.
Yeah.
Once we reported him in 2016 and he was detained, his first trial was in 2010 for the abuse that he committed against my sister, and in 2013 for the abuse of me. But because I was an adult, any sexual crimes that he committed against me after my adulthood did not count because incest was legal in New Jersey.
Wow. And how did that feel? Like telling you?
I felt so defeated. Yeah. I felt unvalidated. And honestly, I felt like, well, I guess I started to victim blame myself because I started to feel like, well, maybe I could have done more. Maybe Did you go to therapy? Do you unpack this in therapy? No.
Wow.
No. Well, a lot of self-therapy. A lot of self-therapy.
Okay.
I am a researcher.
I love that.
So even once I escaped him, the idea of kissing someone or being intimate with someone was like, oh, hell no. No, that is not happening. However, I did not want to live that way because I'm seeing, now I'm free and I'm seeing other women enjoy intimacy with men. I decided to work on
building back.
Yeah, like I was going to say reconditioning myself, but really deconditioning myself. Deconditioning myself. So I took the grassroots from the ground, from the dirt. How does the brain, how does the brain work? What is an orgasm? Like all of these things. And yes, re-educated myself and my body until I was comfortable enough to then allow someone that I cared deeply about to interact with me in that way, on a sexual level. So it took a lot of work, but because I was so determined, so determined to live a normal life. And I also did not want to have the trauma that I experienced affect my children.
Yes.
Now I'm a single mom, got my kids back from foster care. I was going to be so much better than my parents. And in order to do that, I knew that I had to heal. Yeah. I had to grow. I had to learn. So I couldn't be broken and be an example of them. So I was very intentional. Interestingly enough, because my father was so spiritual, he believed in God, clearly. He taught us from a young age things like meditation. Okay. Right. I already had the knowledge of holistic health care. Love that. So I just looked to those same tools to counter what he did to me. And I've been successful in it.
I love that.
I know one thing I do know is that I don't know anything, everything. So I continue to read. I continue to educate myself, do research, put things to practice, test. And eventually I did go into therapy, but it was because someone I was in love with had passed away.
So grief therapy.
Yeah. And so I was devastated. I did not know why I was so upset. I did not know why this was making me depressed. Yeah. And it was in therapy that I discovered that I was afraid that a person like him would not exist for me anymore. So I was like, oh, but I had a breakthrough after 2 sessions. Yeah. And then I visited therapy again when things started being more stressful in my life. Yeah. Stressful because more things were happening in my life. Aziza's Law was on the move and I'm doing this business and my book is becoming more successful and now I'm getting all these. So I am a thinker. And I think that is something that developed through being in survival mode. Yeah, being hypervigilant. I am constantly strategizing the best way to do this and the best way to do that. And I would keep me up at night trying to juggle situations in my head to find the best outcome. And it's funny because I'm a chef.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I used to make these huge like cakes, form of a purse, form of a like all of
Mhm.
those things. And even though most people they practice,
Yeah.
right? You try it, I do it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm baking a cake 50 times before I actually bake it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do that with everything.
Yeah. The good and the bad?
Yes.
Okay, the good and because for great things, you can be an NBA player, because that's what they do, right? But like when you're ruminating on the negative, that can be taunting and daunting. Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes, and it's something I was talking to my daughter about this recently. Sometimes it paralyzes me.
Yes.
Because then I'm thinking of all the ways that it could go wrong.
Yeah.
And certain things has happened. I mean, my family and I were homeless not too long ago.
Okay.
Not because of anything that we did. It was because the landlord in the new apartment we were moving to didn't have their shit together. So, we were left out on the streets for 4 months, had to pay for hotels during that time. So it was, but that was straight in itself. And I think some of these life challenges that I think people would say were normal things because of certain limitations that my upbringing and my experience kind of created in me and how I see things. I am hyper conscious of the things that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
So then it could be a little paralyzing, and then I won't take a step because, I'm thinking, but I might have missed this or I might have missed that.
Yeah, your brain is still in survival. It's kind of like doesn't want to make a mistake. That's what you're programmed to do. If you made a mistake in your childhood, there was punishment. Today, you're reliving that program. If I make the wrong decision, there might be a punishment.
Right.
So you brace up for it. That's completely normal. Right? I think anybody who's gone through what you've gone through and is still sitting here today and advocating is an inspiration. So you are an inspiration. You are so strong.
Thank you.
I don't know how you do it. You're sitting here, you're smiling, but then you're still telling your story and you're in between tears, but you're still like, I have to share my story.
Right.
And I think for all of us that have gone through something, like the way you're standing strong today as like a mother, an author, a speaker, it's awe-inspiring, at least for me. So I appreciate everything that you're telling me. I have a round of quick-fire questions for you.
Sure.
All right.
Let's do this.
All right. You ready? Okay.
Yes.
One sentence you wish someone had said to you as a child.
It's okay to tell grandma.
Do you think grandma would have saved you?
Yes. I do. And she's no longer with us, but yeah.
Is that a thought that goes through your head sometimes? Like, I wish I told grandma.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I try not to. I try not to. I try not to. Like, I have had to accept the steps and the missteps.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's the journey. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
One feeling you've carried for too long.
Doubt. Yes, I would say doubt. I think that even though my actions doesn't really demonstrate it, there are plenty of times I do doubt myself.
Yeah.
But I just do things anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Doubt and go.
Do it anyway, right?
I love that. Doubt and go.
That feeling's there. I doubt. I hesitated, but you know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
The passion and the instinct of the positive outcome of the action is more powerful than the doubt. So that doesn't mean I don't have the doubt. Like I think with bravery,
it's human.
Right.
It's human for us to doubt.
Right. Brave.
Yeah.
I'm not fearless. I have a lot of fear, but I do things in spite of that fear. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What does freedom feel like in your body today?
What does freedom feel? Laughter.
Mm-hmm. You smile a lot. I did notice that.
I know
you do
these
get
smile lines are like,
Yeah.
laughter. As you can see, I use laughter to counteract.
Of course. Yeah, that's a normal
tears. Coping. But there is nothing like a good bellowy laugh. Like there is just something about it where you stay in the moment to really enjoy the moment. Like if something is funny, and it's really liberating. Yeah, it's really liberating. So,
what do you say to guilt when it still shows up?
Go away.
Yeah.
Go away. Something with my daughter, she's like, Mommy, you need to let go of the guilt. But I think having so much responsibility from such a young age. Yeah, like not having the tools to make good decisions, but always being put in this position where I had to make these like life-changing decisions.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, and then my relationships with my sisters have been affected. I don't have the relationship that I wish that I had.
Yeah.
And sometimes guilt creeps in. Yeah, it creeps in. So.
What does the word family mean to you now?
Oh, Lord. Oh my gosh. It can mean so many things. I know all my makeup is gone. It could mean so many things because you could choose. I've learned that you could choose your family. You can choose your family. So the word family for me is fluid. Yeah. It is fluid because your family can also destroy you. Yeah. So yeah, I would say fluid. I would say fluid. And because my awareness, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Yeah. And as a spiritual being, I know that I have family that I haven't met yet.
Soul family.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Fluid, definitely.
One sentence you hope every survivor hears in their lifetime.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Tell me them all.
Okay. So the first one that came to mind, it gets better.
It gets better.
It gets better. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You can get through it. I support you. I believe you. It wasn't your fault. And there are people who care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's still good people out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That thing that was done to you is not, fortunately, there are a lot of people out there that will do those things as well, but it is not it's a part of humanity, but it's not what humanity is.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to understand, like to be able to go out into the world and not be afraid that every person that walks past you wants to harm you.
Yeah. And my final question for you is, if survival had a voice, what would it whisper from within the house?
Survival had a voice, what would it whisper from within the house?
Yes. Or what would it whisper to somebody still in the house? The house of abuse?
That's a good one. Wow. Survival had a voice. I would say that it would whisper, there's always tomorrow. Meaning an opportunity, even though it may not look like it now, an opportunity will present itself. So if you could make it to tomorrow, then you can make it out of the situation. I think that a lot of people who are being abused, it feels like that there's no other option because you end up being in that space, and it does condition you to accept it. So yeah, I think if survival had a voice, that it would encourage you to keep going, to push through, that whether it be through action, that opportunity is going to come because you did do something, because you did tell, because you did call the police. But even if it's not because of an action you as the victim did, an opportunity will come.
An opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity will come.
So stay strong and be patient. An opportunity will come.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels counterintuitive to say be patient, but in my experience, that's really what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Patience.
Yeah, patience. Because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So the only other thing that I had was patience. Yeah. Girl, I don't think I've cried this much during an interview.
Let's take a deep breath together because I feel like that was beautiful, but also a lot.
Yeah.
I thank you for your truth. I thank you for sharing your truth with us. I felt it through every bone in my body. I think I've got angry. I have rage towards your father. Is he in jail? We didn't.
He is.
He is.
He
okay.
is. He's serving 90 years.
90 years?
Yeah.
90, 90.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord is good. Like, you know, like that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your smile, for even sharing this story with a big smile on your face and just being a bright light. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for sitting in the dark with us. If something cracked open for you today, please don't rush to fix it. And if you're ready to dive deeper on your own, you can explore more at hibabalfaqih.com. This is the Shadow Sessions, where not all darkness is dangerous. Until next time, stay human.